Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ultimate loot guide for Scum in 2025 for version 0.96. And yes, I am jumping onto an official server, a South African official server, because I come from South Africa. And I just want to show you guys that even on an official server where I don't use any admin powers, or where I'm not playing on my own server, how important loot locations are and how important looting is overall. So in my personal opinion, B3 is the most important sector when it comes to loot. I know that Summerbore City, the big city, is important for high loot, but the loot that you have on you is basically everything in Scum. And what I mean by that is, what is the difference between me right now and a fully geared player? The loot that we have on us. That is the only difference between me. If I run into another player now, the only thing that determines, the biggest thing that determines who's going to win that fight is loot. When we both have roughly the same amount of loot, then skill becomes an issue. But for the starting part, loot is where it's at. So I'm going to quickly run to B3 and tell you guys why B3 is the best location to start at when it comes to gearing up. Now, the purpose of this video and what you guys can learn from this is how to be more effective in Scum, how to get to your targets faster, how to have fun faster, and how to be able to loot more effectively. Because the faster you can get better clothing, the faster you can carry more loot on you, the faster you can start selling things, the faster you can start buying hiking backpacks and equipment that can really help you store a lot of loot. The faster you can get to a bicycle with extra storage, the faster you can get to a vehicle with extra storage, the faster you can get to the ultimate target, which is basically like a rager with armor on, where you can have tons of gear, and then the faster you can get to a base. Build a base, gather loot. It just helps you to get to your targets faster. And PvE wise, there are three basic ways to obtain loot. First of all, to craft loot. Second of all, to find loot. And third, to buy loot. There are a lot of ways to get loot in PvP. You know, kill a player, raid a player, steal from a player. But we're just going to focus on the PvE side. So, I've only been playing about a half an hour. This is what I found from a little town. The difference between me and another player is that I know how important this insulating rubber glove is. Because I know if I've got as basic of a tool as a kitchen knife, I can cut it up into rubber bands, which allows me to craft a metal sword, which I know is way better than most melee weapons, unless, you know, we focusing on big melee weapons. But I know it's better than the pickaxe. But I also know the pickaxe can be utilized for a quest item. I can get money with this pickaxe. And I know that this item, thread, is really important right through the game, especially at the start. And it's that knowledge about ability to craft loot and find loot and sell it, which is the difference between an experienced player and an unexperienced player. Now that we understand the difference between the skill of finding loot and buying loot, you know, or crafting loot, it's very important to understand what loot is important for you on your daily survival basis. And the loot that you need on you is very related to your build. For instance, I've got a new character, So I know because of 3 constitution, my metabolism or my immune system isn't going to be very strong. So that's why I do go to pharmacies inside of towns and get antibiotics. And no, I'm not going to give in the antibiotics to get some money from the trader. I need the antibiotics in case I'm going to suffer from an infection. Okay? It's important for me to know that any puppet can give me military pants, which I can repair with the sewing kit that I got from the thread. It's important for me to know that with duct tape, I can repair a raincoat. It's important for me to know that if I urgently need clean rags and I'm not close to an area where I can find clothing or something to cut up rags, I can always use soap. Like having soap on me is useful in case I have to wash something to cut it up into rags that are useful, that won't give me an infection. So how to use the loot is also very important. Now that we're almost at B3, I want to discuss important loot locations when you start out. The boot camp is very good because it's got half moons and barracks, sleeping quarters where you can get clothing and military loot. But it is a dangerous area, so if you're struggling with sentries or a lot of puppets or players, might not be the best place to go to. Where the train yard is also a great place to go to, but once again, there are sentries and other things that you need to deal with. Whereas you can go to the A3 bunker and there you can get clothing and military loot as well without taking major risks, because at abandoned bunkers, you don't have sentries, but there's still places that you can loot to find clothing. And I know A3, the A3 bunker is one of them. And then you can even go up to the satellite dish underneath C2, where you can also find clothing and military loot without dealing with sentries. So around me, I've got the big city, which is very, very, very powerful. We call this Goat Town because there's a statue of a goat inside it. So there's also good loot in here. We know that the castle is right here, which can give us a sporen bag and bows and arrows, and medieval swords that we can sell to buy a hiking backpack. So very, very useful for that. We've got the quarries, which are very, very useful. We've got a trader very, very close to us. I mean, if we're in B3, then the trader is only 1 sector away. Okay, where here the trader is more than a sector away. Or if we're in B2, the trader is also quite far away. And you have to travel over mountains and stuff like that. Although there's multiple entry points to C2. So there's an argument that if you use B4, running into players there's going to be a higher chance of running into players because everyone is coming in from the east. Where if you go to C2, people can come in from all directions. I know there's a road from the south, but you can come in from the west or the east. Okay? So all of these factors play a role. So where I am now, I've got the medieval sword, I've got the bow, I've got the basic materials. I want to get loot. So I'm going to loot a place where I can find military clothing. Whether I'm going to use it or not, I need military gear to maybe sell for better gear. Now, instead of just rushing into the boot camp, I need to understand that if I don't find more loot space in the form of a backpack, I'm definitely going to need to craft better loot space, which is the improvised backpack, which is the best loot space I can get by crafting. Now, the boot camp will give me the rags that I need because it will give me clothing and beanies and useless loot that I can just cut up. It will give me puppets, which I can get the human skin from. But I'm going to need rope as well. Okay, I've got the improvised sewing kit. I've got a cutting tool. So I need to prepare and at least craft the rope before I get there to be guaranteed that I'm going to increase my loot space instead of just hoping to increase my loot space. And of course, I don't care about puppets because of what I've got. My gear. Now, when I come to a loot location like the boot camp, okay, we are now officially in B3, I like to know what I'm up against. So players are always a possibility. I have to look out for players first, because a player poses the most threat to me. Then I understand that I'm dealing with sentries, puppets, and suicide puppets, especially at the boot camp. Now, there are the barracks, the sleeping quarters that I'd like to get clothing from, but that is an open barracks. What I mean by an open barracks is they can see me. Okay? So the fact that I know that the puppets jump for no reason, which I only know because of experience, the fact that I know there are suicide puppets gives me an advantage over other players because they might come in here with just a melee weapon. A lot of people don't like bows. And, you know, if they had to take on 2 puppets there with a crossbow, it might have not worked out for them. But again, we're closed. Where with the sleeping quarters, there are windows. Puppets can come into the sleeping quarters. People can shoot us through the windows. So of course, I'm going to start at the half moons to see what kind of loot I can get before I go to the sleeping quarters. Okay, so let's see what we can get because there are 3 half moons here. Now, a new player might find this normal backpack and feel he's good. He doesn't need to craft a bigger backpack. But an experienced player knows that the normal backpack only has 4 slots and 5 slots up. 4 slots to the side, 5 slots up. So normal backpack can only hold 20 items. Okay? We're talking about an item like this. Where improvised backpack, the best backpack you can craft, can take 25 items, and the normal backpack doesn't give you an advantage where you can carry a weapon in the backpack. You need an assault or a hiking backpack for that at least. Okay? And someone might think that the raincoat that they have with them is fine, but it's really not. That's why it's better for me to wait till I find a tactical jacket from a puppet to increase my loot space and my carry weight, because the tactical jacket carry more weight than the raincoat, okay, and actually transfer the loot, and I can still cut up this raincoat for clean rags, but now my camouflage, the way I look in the wild, my camouflage, my physical camouflage in the wild is better. And now because I prepared with the 2 skins and the rope and everything, I am supposed to be able to craft that backpack. By simply taking the scissors that I found and cutting up the standard clothing that I've picked up. Like the shirt, like this plain military shirt, and the beanie. And it's these little things that makes me get to a dangerous place where I've got good gear on me faster than someone else, because I physically study the loot that I get. I try and understand how the loot that I find is helping me. I know that the gunpowder might not be extremely important now, but maybe I find a gun and a magazine. You know, maybe I find a really good gun and I can't find the ammo for it and I can't buy the ammo for it. At least I know I can craft the ammo. Maybe I find the magazine and the gun for a great weapon, but I just can't find the ammo and I can't buy the ammo, especially with the new fame system. Then I know that's important. And I know gunpowder is important for way bigger things in the future, which again gives me that edge over other players. Some players might even just leave this backpack out here But I know that if the dirtiness level of an item is below 50%, I can use it for rags. So I will cut it up with the scissors that I specifically look for. In a pharmacy, because I know scissors gives you the most amount of rags out of any item that you cut up. And I know with 1 rag strip and 5 rags, I can make a bundle of rags, which saves me a lot of space, and might be the difference in my next fight. Where if the other player that's fighting me, let's say we've got the same weapons, if he doesn't have the bandages that I have, if he doesn't have the antibiotics that I have, he might not survive the fight. So even if our skill level is the same, my loot management can be the difference between winning that fight and losing that fight. Another tip I can give you about loot, a lot of players will think, why am I not wearing these gloves? Because I know lockpicking is a big part of Scum, and I'd rather look for open-fingered gloves where when I lockpick, the gloves don't affect how difficult the lockpicking is. Where a new player that just wears any gloves that he finds will have a frustrating time lockpicking because they don't understand what the yellow or the red glove means while they are lockpicking. They don't understand it's what they have in their hands or what they're wearing that's affecting that skill. And that's why I'm saying all these small things, not only how to craft loot, how to find loot and what loot to buy, it's how to use the loot effectively. That's even more important. Understanding how important bushes are versus sentries. Understanding how important bows are versus suicide puppets. Understanding how to level up your skills faster by just simply hitting an armored puppet in the chest to shoot him as many times as possible, to level up your archery skill as much as possible, because over time you know that your rifle skill is the most important skill on a PvP server, because the fastest way you can lose your loot is by dying to another player. So your main goal is to make the chances of you losing all your gear to another player as little as possible. How do you do that? By protecting yourself with a new meta, which is basically tactical armor and a K6 helmet, which I can find where I'm searching right now, and having the appropriate weapon to counter that enemy so that your chances of killing him is better than his chance of killing you. Although there's a lot of factors that comes into play, like how big his clan is versus how big your clan is. But I mean, there's a lot of counters to that as well. You will know when the possibility is there that you're up against more players. You can look at how many players are in front of you or how many players you see before shooting off your gun. You can understand that the later you get to a cargo drop, the higher your chances are of getting into a fight. And all of these things makes you being able to keep the loot that you get. It makes that percentage higher or lower. Another important part about looting a certain location, ladies and gentlemen, is the amount of players that plays on your server is very important in how lucky you are going to be with finding loot or not finding loot. So yes, knowing that the run that I had here is a very, very good run helps me a lot, so I can take extra loot. I don't even have to have a base. I can basically just put this assault backpack, this leather jacket, this helmet, the silencer, the magazine, the ammo, the gunpowder. I can put a lot of stuff in the chest. Okay? And then use that later. Although I'm very exposed right now. Although I've got very, very good loot, I'm still very exposed. You know, with the mere fact that if somebody kills me now, I lose quite a bit of good loot. Okay, I'll lose probably about an hour to an hour and a half worth of gameplay. The fact that I've got night vision is nice. The fact that I can't see anything is not so nice. Does an experienced player play all the time? Yes. But when I'm joining a server, when I enter the server, the loot that I have, the money that I have, there's so many things that influences my decision making. And plain and simply, running around here at night, when I don't have a battery for the night vision, but I could have sold the night vision for a hiking backpack, it's just not very clever. So what is the best decision right now is to go and get a place to sleep. What is the closest place to sleep? Well, that bunker might have a bed, or that could have a bed, or I can just, my exhaustion is not a problem at the moment, okay? It's not a major problem. So while I'm not very close to a bed, I could craft a bed. I could definitely craft a bed. But what I'm rather just going to do is get out of the danger zone. Make sure I'm out of the danger zone so I don't spawn back into the game and I've got a player right on top of me. Okay, so make sure I'm safe. Although there are farmlands there, guys. So I'm literally just going to run to the farmlands and I'm going to sleep. Because when I log back in when it's daytime again, I'd like to sell some gear. I'd like to bury the gear. I'd like to hide the gear. I'd like to think about a base location to keep my loot safe. But yes, this is the ultimate loot guide. So every decision you make counts. And for now, the best decision is to get to a quiet area and go and sleep in a bed, because exhaustion might not affect me now, but because of experience, I know it's going to affect me in the future. So let's get to that bed, sleep in the bed, so that we are fresh when we get back to the game with new plans and new strategy. Now we are at a crossroads and still everything is close to B3, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think to yourself, from here, where would you rather go? Will you go to the naval base or will you go to the small little airfield? Now, there isn't a wrong answer with this, but the more experienced you become, the more likely you are to go directly to the naval base. But actually, going to the small airfield gives you more options. For instance, I still have puppet clothing on me that I repaired with the sewing kit, okay? So my clothing, my tactical jacket is still 50% and my pants is still 50%. I went to the trader and sold a bunch of things and then bought myself a compass because I couldn't find a compass. So I just bought one for 2.5 because that direction saves a lot of time for me, knowing where I'm going, okay? And 2,500 is nothing for me since the one trip to the B4 trader enabled me to complete the 3 tier 1 quests that I need to complete. The next time I go there, I'll be able to do tier 2 quests. And I'm busy with one of the quests that I have to kill puppets. And that is why you might be thinking, why the heck do I have a baseball bat on me? I'd like to, doesn't matter what quests the game gives me, I know there's a very, very long refresh time if we're talking about vanilla settings. But in any case, I've got a sharp tool, I've got a bow, and I've got a blunt tool to be ready for whatever mission, the armorer gives me, because I do find the armorer is one of the more difficult ones to get through so that you can get to the mechanic and the doctor, okay? But in any case, going to the small airfield is actually the better idea here, because from the small airfield, I can go to a police station. And then even if I just get like 8 screwdrivers, doesn't matter how many screwdrivers I get, but at least if I get a few screwdrivers, I can go to the police station and look for low-tier weapons like a pistol or a shotgun or an SMG. Or I could go from the airfield and go down to the submarine and try and see if I can get high-tier loot. But that's very dependent on my skill, or what I'm interested in or what I'm in the mood for. Maybe I'm in the mood for, getting back to the center of the map. Maybe I'm in the mood for looting this, crafting a raft. Actually, you can't swim with a lot of gear on you, but you can easily craft a raft, and go across the water if you want to. Go and explore that island. You've got lots of choices, guys, but all I'm saying is B3 has the airfield. It has 2 traders. If you're looking at one block, it is touching the city. It's got the C2 trader. It's got the prison. It's got the C2 bunker. It's got the satellite. It's got a police station town. It's got the airfield. It's got Go Town. It's got the castles. It's got the quarries. It's got the naval base. Okay? It leads to this bridge. It leads to the bottom quite quickly. It leads to the top quite quickly. The only weakness is that it's far away from the radiation zone and the hospital and the scrapyard. But that's why I say B3 and B1. These 9 sectors and these 9 sectors are definitely the best. A lot of people choose these 4 sectors. They like choosing these 4 sectors. But in my personal opinion, B3 is the best. And basically what you do is you get the low tier gear here. And I know that I need 75 fame to be able to buy a K6 helmet and tactical armor, which isn't very, very expensive. With that one trip to the trader, I already made 25 fame. Okay, so getting to 75 fame isn't going to take me very long. The reason why I always remember 75 fame is because I know if I get to 80 fame, I can get the K6 helmet and the tactical jacket, and I can buy myself a mountain bike, which advances the speed at which I progress in a major way. And I really like the bicycle for leveling up my constitution and stuff like that. But I could rather wheelbarrow. There's a lot of things that goes along with this, guys. But basically, after I get the screwdrivers and I get the gun and I buy the armor, then I'm just going to look for screwdrivers inside of towns or inside of cars or at this airfield or at that small little airfield or at any cargo drop that lands around me. And then I'm going to go to the police station in the radiation zone, get a key card, do an abandoned bunker, and then I'm fully geared. This is excluding my base. This is excluding a base, okay? And I have done this within 2.5 hours on an official server, okay? Welcome to our Scum server. It's a G-Portal. It's an official server. If you guys have got any other questions, if you guys have got any other, your own little ideas, your own favorite loot location, share your preferences with me. Share your favorite loot location with me. Share anything that you think I might have left out, which helps you to get that advantage over other people, especially after a wipe, or you feel you can get geared faster than anyone else when you come onto a server for the first time or right after you've died. But of course, after you've died, your base is always a possibility. So we're just looking at starting from scratch, or even playing without a base. Don't know if there's anyone crazy enough to play without a base, but we're even talking about that. And if you guys found this video helpful, do me a favor, click that like button. If you want to learn and see everything about Scum, click that subscribe button. And I did tell everyone in my community that I would be uploading Scum videos daily, but I don't want to rush the videos. So, uploading a video every day puts me under pressure. It doesn't put a lot of thought into the videos. It lets me rush the ideas. So I'd rather take my time thinking how I can help you guys. And at maximum, the fastest I can do it is once a day. I think the average will probably be every second day when I really try and give you a video that's going to help you a lot with information. And then we'll have our short, quick fire videos as well. And then, you know, like, worst case scenario is like once a week. You know, but that will be a massive video. Like, I don't know why I will make a video like that. Maybe like the 100 tips videos and stuff like that. That's the only reason I'll take a week. But I think on average, I'll take 1, 2 to 3 days on a video. Just know that I'm recording for you every day. I'm just not going to rush the upload. I'm going to try and take my time and give you as much information as I can. And, you know, explain it to you while keeping the video close to about 30 minutes so that I don't take up too much of your day. Have a wonderful time, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.